Exploring Stephen King films featuring John Ward and Jonathan Moody.
Hey everybody, it's me, John Ward, and I am here with Jonathan Moody for the very first episode of Exploring Stephen King Films. And this was an idea that we came up with a while back, and it just took a while for it to happen, but it happened. And our first episode is In the Tall Grass, which is based on a novella by Stephen King and Joe Hill, his son. And it's been in Esquire magazine. It was done in a few parts, and now it's part of several collections. And from what I've read, the movie actually matches the novella pretty close. And I did find an audio book for it on YouTube, not an official one, but it's one that sounds like one of those robot voices.
Oh God!
Are doing. But I'm going to check it out to see how close it is. Yeah, so it's like he walked into the tall grass, and it's like that.
Nope. Sorry, nope, can't do it.
I'm going to check it out because it's free. So otherwise, you got to pay for the other one. So
I would rather pay than have to listen to a robot talk to me for 3 hours or so.
No, it's only 90 minutes because it's a novella. So I think it's the whole thing.
I don't know. I guess you'll have to find out, I guess you'll never know because they could just say it's the whole thing, but it's not, because how would you know?
Well, if somebody's reading it, well, then I would probably pick up a collection. It's in a couple Joe Hill collections, and I've been interested in actually reading some of his stuff. He looks exactly like his dad. It's weird of how he looks with the glasses and the beard and everything. And I've heard that he's a pretty good writer. He's Tabitha King was writing for a little bit, his wife, and Small Room and a couple other books, and she just never made it. It just didn't. I think she wrote like 4 books or something. I could be wrong. But I guess Joe Hill, and he took the name Hill, which is part of his middle name, because he didn't want to be like his dad. But then when you see a picture, he didn't want to be associated like, oh, he's Stephen King's son. But when you see him, he looks exactly like his dad. So it's kind of hard to not go, oh, you're Stephen King's son, even though you have a different last name.
Poor guy. His name is Joe King, like he's joking. Well, maybe it's Joseph Kingstein, and then he just made it Joe King, and then changed it to Joe Hill. I don't know, but it's Joe Hill is what he's known as, pretty much.
Yes, and he's won many awards, including like the Bram Stoker Award and stuff like that. So he's a successful writer in his own right. So I'm curious to read some of his other stuff. So Throttle, I actually read Throttle
in his own right. Because he writes. There's going to be shit like that all the
time. And delete. There we go. So basically how this is going to work is if I pick the episode or the movie that we're going to watch, I host it. When Jonathan picks the movie, he hosts it. So I decided to pick In the Tall Grass because I've never seen it. It's on Netflix. Jonathan said that he never saw it. And so I thought it would be perfect. And it's new. It's only a couple years old. So we're not flashing back to the 70s or whatever it is for the first episode. And
we'll do that later.
And my only problem, we'll do that later. Oh, we're going to be all over the place with King. And this show we'll be looking at Stephen King features and shorts and miniseries and all that stuff, but it's going to focus on his films. I've read about a quarter of his books, maybe 30% of his books, somewhere in there. So I can give some sort of commentary on the movies compared to the books, but his King's later stuff I've not read. So I may have to get back into that, probably with audiobooks to make it go by quicker.
Mm-hmm. But and the thing that annoys me with Netflix is this will most likely never enter our Stephen King collections, which really annoys me with Netflix. I do not like that.
I don't know why they don't do that. I mean, they can make a living off of both, doing the streaming, then putting it out on Blu-ray.
I think it's all greed that they know if they never release Cobra Kai, on a physical copy, people will have to subscribe and watch it that way. And that's how they're going to make all their money, is through streaming. I bet none of this stuff comes out on physical copies, which is why I've hinted at, sailing the high seas for certain things if you want them to be in your collection, because I think it's stupid and I have no problem with that whatsoever. If you're going to be greedy, then I'll be greedy on my end and just, get on that pirate ship and start, and get it that way if I have to.
Just don't go down the dark web.
No, stay away from that. So, what did you think of this? What did you think of In the Tall Grass?
Well, I mean, I felt like it was a short novel, right? It's a novella, so it was shorter than his normal, like 500 page to 800 page or longer books. It felt kind of like it should have been a short film. Like I felt like sometimes it went on a little too long, but or at least cut it down, because it was like an hour and 40 minutes. It could have been cut down to like an hour and 20 minutes and stuff. And I'll give you like an idea of how I think it could have fixed itself better if you want me to,
Sure.
Well, I haven't read the book, so I don't know how closely this resembles the book, and it might, But what I would have done is I would have concentrated on introducing these characters before they got into the tall grass, and then then like when it got into the second act, that's when they went into the tall grass. I feel like it went into the tall grass way too quickly. And after a while, I was like, oh my God, what the hell is like, this is kind of, I was like, it better not be them like trying to search for each other for an hour and 40 minutes, or I'm going to fucking turn the shit off. Like I was getting frustrated already, but thankfully it picked up a little bit but it also very much confused the fuck out of me. So there was a lot of like, I understand it's supposed to be a mind warp, but it was like way too confusing. Anyway, that was my opinions. What are yours?
Well, it's time travel. I mean, I did listen to about a minute of the audiobook, and it starts off with them in the car. And Stephen King's stories just start off that way. Children of the Corn, they're in the car. He has a film called You Have a Hell of a Band. I might be getting the title slightly wrong, which is kind of like Children of the Corn, except that a couple driving in one of these states, like a Nebraska type state, ends up in a ghost town that has dead rock stars. So in the town but they're all kind of zombie-like, and they're all playing like a huge concert. So you have Jimi Hendrix is there, John Lennon, I think, is there, Jim Morrison is there. So he has these stories that start off with two people in a car, and they're driving. And Children of the Corn, the best example of that one would be the TV movie that was made, because they're only bickering. I mean, that's the whole thing, is they're bickering. While the original one with Linda Hamilton is that they're actually doing okay. So he likes to do that. So for them to be in the car, I didn't mind it, just because I'd known that he's done it in the past. And even something like Duel, which is Richard Matheson, which Stephen King is a huge fan of, starts off with like a guy, where he's basically in a car,
right?
Like we see him leaving his house and stuff, but then he's in a car. So it didn't bother me at all, having it start off that way. I was getting a little bored with the grass stuff. I'm like, oh my God, can they please leave the grass? We need something to break it up.
And that's when they ended up in the bowling alley, which I really liked. And I wish that they spent more time at the bowling alley.
I was like, don't go back into the grass. Please don't. I felt like I was stuck in the grass for way too long. It's just, that's the biggest problem with the movie is like I said, it's the time, they could have cut out, I think, some stuff that just would have made it go a little quicker. I'm not sure what really in my mind, but if I had like some time to really think about it, I could have probably picked some stuff that they could have cut out that didn't really, matter in the long run. You know what I mean? But I did dig it. I mean, it was a fun sort of movie. It was interesting, Yeah,
I really liked it, but I don't know if I would recommend it to people to see, but I don't know if I would want to sit through it again so soon.
Right.
It's just one of those films. It does feel like 100 minutes. I mean, it doesn't go by quickly. I was watching it. I was enjoying it. I paused it to get up to use the restroom. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm not even halfway through it.
I did the same thing, but I didn't go to the restroom. I went and made some tea, I don't know, just to do something. So I didn't feel like I was stuck in this movie for so long. I mean,
it's kind of like open water, where you're just stuck in water for friggin' ever. And you're just like, can we please get out of the water soon?
Well, even then, I don't know. For some reason, I always enjoyed open water. I enjoy the movie Frozen. I enjoy movies where they're like stuck like that, I guess. So I think I was kind of excited when I knew it was like they're going to be in the grass, but like only if they did cool shit, Like it would have been more fun if they kept just getting killed, and then coming back like their characters were.
Yeah, I like they call them holes, but they're like portals. They're time portals. And there's something going on where where you see the dog disappear near the end by the bowling by the bowling place. And then it's by the church. You see it on the road. So once we started kind of bringing in time travel, I was kind of into it. And I liked that they find people's dead bodies, and then the person shows up, because this is obviously they went through like a different portal. So I would have, and I mean, once again, it's probably not in the story. So I mean, my opinion on this or suggestion doesn't really matter, but it almost would have been interesting to have them meet up with themselves. So you have them go in, and maybe they're only there for a day, so they still look okay, and then they meet up with themselves like 6 months from now, and they're like all fucked up, but of course, so who knows? Because the boyfriend mentions that they've been gone because they never made it to San Diego, that it's been 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think the girlfriend, the pregnant girlfriend, the main character, I don't think she realizes that she is then, I don't know, is she still only, because she says that she only has 3 months left of her pregnancy. So if she's been gone for 2 months, has something changed?
Well, she ends up having the baby, because by that time it's been 3 months maybe, or whatever,
Well, that's what I'm thinking is, then if he says they're gone for 2 months and she's in the corn, and she's going through all these different portals, does that then mean that she only has 1 month to give birth? Because that's it. She never really brings that up. Like, oh my God, I shouldn't be, because we don't know if she, excuse me, she gives birth, or if Patrick Wilson, I think that's his name, Patrick Wilson, actually just like gets the baby out of her.
I can't understand any of that stuff. Like, and what was that rock? Like, is it supposed to be aliens or something? Like,
well, here's my theory, and I normally don't like doing this because I think the film I think they should explain it, but a lot of the times I think it's fine. And I've told you this before, where I don't like making up stuff. But my theory is it was a meteorite. It crashed probably like 1 million years ago, and has been in that field, and that's why it has that little patch around it. And then probably Native Americans, found the rock, and it started doing weird stuff, which is why it has the carvings in it. And we do see a carving of a woman giving birth, which is also why the ground falls through, because I guess they're supposed to maybe sacrifice the baby to the rock. But we never find the baby. We find out that Patrick Wilson took the baby. So we don't know if it got murdered or if it was thrown down that pit with all the bodies and the skeletons and everything. But I think it's something that landed here a long time ago. It's been affecting the area. Native Americans did all the carvings. And now and that's why the church has all those cars. Because I bet people drive by and go, oh, look, there's an abandoned church. Let's go check it out. I would.
Okay.
And, and so those are all the people that have disappeared.
Okay. So interesting thought is so Patrick Wilson touches the rock and he becomes this crazy fucking person, whatever. He just goes nuts.
Allow me to point out, as Stephen King does, and many people do, the religious person goes crazy. And everybody else is fine, because ultimately religion is evil. It is pure evil. So who goes crazy? The religious guy. Yeah. It happened in Midnight Mass. It happens in all these films and books and all that stuff, because we know that, and this is my opinion, that religion is evil. So that's who you would have go crazy in the movie. You wouldn't have an atheist go crazy. Because who would they sacrifice a baby to?
So Travis touches it, and he's okay, right? So in your mind, maybe he's an atheist, or maybe he's just not religious, No,
I don't think he's okay. He sacrifices himself. So because at one point the kid has touched it.
Right.
So one of the versions of the kid running through there touched it, which is why he said, I could show you the way out.
But I'm
or at least take you.
Here.
Yeah. And so I think Travis, knowing that this is like a time loop, touches the rock so he could show the kid how to get out, to then tell his girlfriend and the brother not to come in.
Okay. So why didn't it start with the other like the family? Why didn't he stop the other family from going in there? Like, why does it start from when the brother and sister come?
Because they are the last people to go in. So the first person to go, that's why it's a loop. It's like Terminator. How many times did Terminator happen? I think they've said 4 times. How many times did Groundhog Day happen?
1 million.
According to Harold Ramis, he's been stuck there for like hundreds of years, thousands of years. He's been stuck there, which is why he could play the piano really well and everything. So how long had they actually been stuck in this grass? Because Travis then, so the kid, so that's the thing. It's like a whole chicken and egg type of thing. So Travis is in the field. Then the Patrick Wilson family hears Travis. They go in. Then the sister and the weird brother who wants to fuck his own sister goes in. And then in the alternate timeline, that's from the other that's when Travis shows up.
Right.
That's why there's a dead girlfriend and a live girlfriend.
But at the end of the movie, when you see you see Travis fall down into on bottom of the grass or whatever, and you see all the other Travises, I guess, right? Was that like all his bodies or something? That's what I thought, because that's what it looked like. I couldn't tell.
I think it's just people that have well, like when Patrick Wilson kills the brother and he looks over and he sees a dead body, I thought that was Cal, the brother, already dead. And then after him is maybe like his sister. Then after that is like Travis. Then after that is, or it could just be more dead bodies.
Right.
Because all those cars at the church, those bodies would have to be somewhere.
Mm-hmm. But they didn't discover a lot of other bodies, which was weird, because they were all
no, but
all
the place is huge.
I know.
They could be spread out everywhere.
It's true. Yeah, well, it was just
and look how long the car was there. The sister's car, like the sister and brother's car. So when Travis finds it, it looks like like it's been there for months. He has to like wipe off the license plate. The sandwich has maggots, like the burger has maggots all over it.
Mm-hmm.
Like that car wasn't there for just a couple days.
Yeah,
that car's been there for months.
Well, I mean, they did say 2 months he was gone, but it might have been. It feels like it probably was longer because time doesn't really. I don't know. Time is weird at that place, you know. But I don't. It was such a strange. Like, it was such a strange movie, period. And of course, Stephen King. Oh, yeah, this is just him in his element in a way, you know. I don't.
Well, you never explain. You don't explain. If you explain, it's the worst. Metachlorians. The worst thing that ever happened to friggin' Star Wars. Metachlorians. You don't explain the Force.
Right.
Fans from when the original movie came out, everyone had a different idea of what the Force was, and you had obsessed fans living the Force. You know, that it's, you know, and they just kind of lived off of what Obi-Wan Kenobi said, you know, it surrounds you, it, you know, and all that. And people be like, it's like, you're more like a monk or a Hindu or something like that, that you're, you know, you live like Obi-Wan does. You don't own a lot of things. And then, of course, Lucas has to explain it. And that ruins everything when you try to explain these things. That's why End of the World movies are great when you don't explain things. Zombie films, when you don't explain it. It's just happens. It's scarier that way.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know,
King's done that many times.
I loved Donnie Darko because there was no explanation. You know, movies like that, you know,
right.
Make you actually think and you're wondering. But then again, time loop movies, you know, they're never explained why, you know, Bill Murray was in a time loop in Groundhog Day. You know, I think that would have ruined it. They
kind of do. He had to realize I believe it was about love. That once he became a better person and could legitimately go up to her and say, you know, like, I love you, that's when it broke. And it took him that long for it to, you know, to happen. And Stephen King has done explaining. The Stand, he explains it. That's where Captain Trips comes in, is that the government made the plague and the plague got released. So, and sometimes he does explain it and sometimes he doesn't.
Well, and you know, was it Groundhog Day? They explain that that's how he got out of it. They didn't explain why that happened, you know, or what caused it to happen, you know,
right?
Like, and so this does sort of explains that it was, you know, a rock or a meteor or whatever it was. It explains that had something to do with it. Obviously. But it also, you know what, this movie did, because I've always never wanted to go into tall grass or cornfields or anything like that, mainly because I don't like bugs and shit and other stuff. And I don't, you know what I mean? Because like, there's no way you're not going to get attacked by a million bugs if you go into the like tall grass and shit. So there's like, I'm like, I have zero interest in ever going in those things. And, but it does like give you that idea of like what's the moral of the story is don't go help people in the tall grass.
No, I have said that in other videos that I've made, and where I've said, and I know this sounds bad, stop helping people, because when you look at even something like Green Inferno or any of these types of movies where people are like, oh, we're going to go help these people because we're like white privileged people who have to go help these poor natives, they all get eaten.
Right.
Everybody gets eaten. Stop it. If you hear what I would have done is I would have, in this film, if I would have pulled off to the side of the road to, let's say, check out the church, I would, and I heard the kid's voice, I would probably yell out to the kid. And then I'd say, you know what? I'll be back. Like if the kid couldn't find my voice, I'd be like, hold on, I'm going to go to the next town and get like a cop or a fireman or something like that. Mm-hmm. And then, and then come back. Because you don't know what's in there.
Exactly.
And, so I know that doesn't make me sound like a good person, that I would probably just leave a kid in there. But it's just, I've seen way too many movies where the person, and in real life, you see somebody in a flood go to help somebody who's trapped, and they a lot of times end up dying. They save the person that they're trying to help, and then they get swept away and drown. So it's like a lot of the times I don't think that I would go and help. I'd say like, I'm going to go find help and I'll be back. I'm not equipped to do this.
Right. And yeah, I would have called for help, or whatever, called, 911 and said, but then, I mean, technically I'm getting the police to go into the tall grass and go that type a little bit, but I mean, it's just like they tried to do it. They tried to be a hero. And the funniest thing is at the end of the day, the hero was the one you least expected.
Well, yeah. And when the brother goes in there, he calls himself a hero.
Right.
Jokingly. And here's my problem with the brother, and you could see him back there in your picture. He wears glasses. You and I wear glasses. Mm-hmm. Why would you forget your glasses? I left my glasses in the car. Why would you leave your glasses in the car? And it's never brought up again. Like you don't, like he's not, he's not walking around going, I can't see something. It's all blurry.
Maybe they're only driving glasses.
Do only driving glasses work? I mean, or do they exist?
Yeah, no. There are people that actually just use it to drive, I don't know why, but it is a thing,
I mean, I'm nearsighted. So, I mean, I guess I need glasses for driving, but I wear them all the time.
I wear them all the time too, but I'm just saying there are people who just use them for driving. I don't know. Don't ask me.
Yeah, I'm going to have to hear in the story if that's brought up, and maybe, in the audiobook, and maybe see if there's more to it, because he never mentions it again. And then he's like, oh, I left my cell phone in the car also.
Yeah. Why not just
I don't believe that either. That was my thought. Why is he wearing glasses if he forgets his glasses? Unless for some reason, maybe he meets up with another version of himself that is wearing glasses. So like he got out of the grass and then went to get his glasses and the phone, and then came back to find his sister, and then got lost again. So now there's two versions of him, one with and one without glasses on. Because even a cell phone, our cell phones are glued to us. Mm-hmm. In our review for Scream, you see that with Casey, that she's being dragged to her death and she still won't let go of the phone.
Right.
And that's not even a cell phone. And so I got paranoid the other day because I thought I left my phone at home and it was in my car. And I'm just like, oh shit, did I leave my phone at home? My life is now,
But then you're also, the guy just forgot his phone in his car. Maybe he just didn't have it in his pocket when he went out because the only reason I would say that was because the girl was the one who really wanted to help this kid out. In the beginning, he didn't want to do it. He was like, let's go. He was actually a smart person, but she kept bothering him enough to say, all right, fine. So he left. Maybe his phone was just in his car and was just not,
I mean, it's possible, but I would think under the circumstances of trying to find a kid, you're walking into the tall grass, you would probably take your phone with you for an emergency. Like if they separate, she has a phone, he has a phone. They find the kid, maybe somebody's hurt, they call 911. So it's like, I don't know. I don't, and him not having a phone really didn't serve much of a purpose. Nobody else, I don't think, had a phone except for the sister.
Yeah, and then the phone only served the purpose of them calling each other or whatever, and the
liked
versions
that
of themselves, which I thought was pretty cool. I liked it, I dug it, but I'm just saying that was the only purpose of the phone, because they tried calling the police and couldn't get through because they were going through the tall grass, and the tall grass was blocking their cell phone reception, I guess.
I yelled at her on the phone. I went, stop walking. Like, she had good reception back here and she just keeps walking and it's getting worse and worse. Stop walking. You're like, oh crap, it sounds shitty. Let me go back to where it sounds good. Well, because it didn't sound like the plants were blocking it. It just sounded like as the deeper she got, the worse it,
right.
The Wi-Fi got bad or something.
Well, what I liked was that at one point, and they showed this, and I was like, oh my God, this is really cool. Like, one of the cool scenes was them walking around and they were trying to hear each other. So they were like, hey. But like at one point, he was in a different spot all of a sudden, right? He was somewhere else, and he hadn't even walked, he was like standing straight, and she heard him from a different area. So like it was as if the grass was moving around constantly.
Well, that's what I think. I'm thinking a portal or a hole is picking that up. So he's yelling, and his yell is like echoing into the different holes, which would take them to different areas in the grass.
Maybe, I don't. But see, the problem is you say they don't need to show that. They need to show that. Like you say they don't need to show these things or whatever. They need to show some stuff, because like otherwise we're just too confused.
I'm not entirely sure in something like this that you really need to, because it is such a mystery, because it's something, I think in our review for like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, you do need explanations. You do need to know, why is Leatherface at this orphanage? Does Leatherface go to the store to buy the woman food? What does he do? Is he smart enough to be retired and he's hiding? I think in those cases, you do need some sort of explanation. But for something like this, even something like Jaws, why is the shark attacking everybody?
No.
You don't need to know.
What I'm saying is, like, when you have like a portal, and you say it's probably a portal, right? I didn't pick that up. I didn't even think about that, right?
Well, they call it a hole.
Right, but I didn't think it might be a
portal.
But
a hole is a portal. Right. I mean, that's I just don't want to refer to it as her hole. She went through her hole, so I'm calling it a portal.
A crack in the ground.
Okay. Yeah, her crack, and it's kind of like Happy Death Day, when you have absolutely no idea why she's groundhogging. Well, it's because she's a bitch, and once she becomes really,
nice, nicer person.
Yeah, she had to be nice and find out who the killer is and all that stuff. So in the sequel, Happy Death Day to You, which I still enjoyed, we then find out what's causing it, which I don't like as much.
Yeah. Well, once again, it's over explanation. It would be like if they did Donnie Darko 2, not S Darko, but Donnie Darko 2, where they like completely explained why he time traveled, or whatever, which my theory was it was a alternate reality. But you'll have to listen to that on Film Freaks TV, because I give a full explanation of what my theory is. But that's the thing. That's my theory. That doesn't necessarily mean it's exactly what, Richard Kelly wrote, and maybe it's not. just the same thing as this is my ideas, like your idea of a portal or whatever. Maybe that's not what Stephen King and Joe Hill had originally planned, or thought of, but maybe that's just your interpretation,
No, I'm just changing a hole to portal just to be, so it doesn't sound weird. Because the guy says it's a hole.
Right. No,
because there's holes that we go through. So it's one of those things where there was a book that came out a long time ago. I forget the title of it. And what it was is that it was like film theories or something like that, where one thing I remember is they talk about the film Outbreak with Dustin Hoffman and how scientifically wrong the entire movie is, because they give so many explanations and they're just wrong. Like scientists and biologists have just ripped that film apart because of how wrong it is. The comparison that the author gave, and this is a weird movie to compare it to, is the Bela Lugosi film Devil Bat, where he said Bela Lugosi taking this little bat, putting it in the machine, you throw a switch, there's some electricity, and then he goes back, and now the bat's this big. Completely plausible. It can absolutely happen. Why? Because he doesn't tell you how it's done. So there's no reason for you to say, oh, that can't be done. He can't make a bat from this to this. No, he can, because he never explains it. And that's what people have to do, is they have to. I never want Donnie Darko explained. Never. And I am a fan of S. Darko. I actually like S. Darko. I'm one of the few people who, and I would love to make Sparrow into a film, like to get her story up to the point of.
Were they
Donnie
planning
Darko.
to do that?
No.
Okay.
I was watching Donnie Darko one day, and I thought it would be interesting because what's her first name?
Roberta.
So it would be R. Sparrow, like a Donnie Darko tale, but it would be a prequel, and we'd find out all the
stuff.
Yeah, and it would be like how she went from like being in like an orphan, how she was like, I think they said that she was like a nun, and then how she went into science and all that, and you would get all that, you would see all that, and I think that would be interesting. But you still wouldn't explain Donnie Darko, though. You would just look at Sparrow and what she would do.
Right.
So I love time travel stuff. I think it's absolutely amazing, because if you watch Donnie Darko enough, it still doesn't make sense, but that's perfectly fine. Because it's also like the butterfly effect, the first butterfly effect.
Right.
When Ashton Kutcher's character realizes he's the problem, and in his mother's womb strangles himself with his own umbilical cord, which I absolutely love. And then that's Donnie Darko realizes this is me. I have to die so these other people can live, which then is what Travis did at the end of In the Tall Grass. He has to sacrifice himself to save them, even though he doesn't like the brother.
And he doesn't technically sacrifice himself, I don't think, because it time travels to the beginning of the movie where where the two people are there. So it's not like they're going to be like, where the hell did he go? Like he's still alive.
No, he's still back in the town. That version of him.
Right.
But there's always going to be like Terminator and stuff like that. There's always going to be those couple versions that either get killed or sacrifice themselves or whatever it is. So that version of him did sacrifice himself so he could live, his baby could live, his girlfriend, the sister could live.
See, that's the thing. That's what I get about like Terminator, right? Like, well, maybe I do, or maybe I don't. But like Terminator 1, Kyle Reese goes in to save Sarah Connor from the Terminator for being killed, right? He ends up having sex with, the mom, and ends up creating John Connor, who ends up being his boss later, right? So that, like, I get that, right? So then once he saves him, it's like the cycle repeats itself, right? Like that's just the way it is. Then the second Terminator, they're like, let's see how we can, make this, continue, right? It's a little confusing.
No, it is confusing because they've said with like Terminator, I think they have said 4 times that it happened. So you have to have the war. The war does happen. They then get the time machine.
Right.
And then that's when they send back Kyle. So then he has to have sex with Sarah to make John Connor. She then tells John Connor, you need to send Kyle back because he has to have sex with me to make you.
Right.
So in the first version, there's no John Connor. He comes the second time around.
Right. So the second time around, then all of a sudden they're sending another Terminator to destroy John Connor, but then they're sending the same Terminator that attacked. It's still very confusing as to like what. And I get it because they wanted to make Arnold Schwarzenegger the good guy in the second one, but it's like, all right, like you're just now sending the same thing in to save, like now it's a good guy. Like
Cameron has said that the reason why they did that is because they are familiar with that Terminator. So right. John won't know it, but Sarah will know it. So it's a familiar Terminator. And then if you go off of Dark Fate, which is freaking awful, there was many of that Terminator that went out.
Yeah, apparently that was the worst part is where you actually see like an older version, which was the actual, like, I guess, was he real? Was he a real person or was he still a Terminator?
No, he was still a Terminator. Yeah, he was still a Terminator.
Whatever. Terminators don't age. That's
well. Remember, Kyle says that Terminators sweat. They I mean, it's they could do everything that a person does to disguise themselves. So, which is why I think one of them brings up in that, like, do you have sex? And he's just like, no, it's because the woman that he's with was in an abusive relationship. It's a non-sexual relationship because he would crush her if he got on top of her.
Yeah.
So it's each one got worse as they went on. I like Terminator 1 and 2. I like part 3, especially the ending. I could deal with part 4 if they just cut that beginning out. It still would have matched with the other movie. I mean, but now we're talking about Terminator. We should be talking about Stephen King.
That's what we do on all my shows, man. You should be used to this by now. Just go off topic.
Yeah, we start here and it's just
we go into the tall grass. To go back to that, I was digging a lot of stuff in it. Like I dug, and another thing was like, I got happy when I saw the dog, come back to life or whatever, because I did not like seeing that dog dead.
Yeah.
I was kind of sad, but Freddy. Yeah. I was happy to see him alive, but then he goes into the hole and I guess he got out then, right? Like if he went to that wormhole, or did he go just to another part of the grass?
Well, when they're looking at him at the bowling alley, is they see that he goes into that grass, and then they're like, wait, where did he go? And then when they look up, they see that he's on the street that goes to the church.
So he went through like a little. He made it. Just don't go back into the tall grass and you're fine. Freddy,
Yeah, that's the thing, is too many people went into that grass when I think they could have just gone, well, they tried. The guy tried to say, look, we're right here. This is where the dog went through. And then I forget something happened and they ended up not going in there. What did you think about the brother wanting to have sex with his sister?
I don't think that was the case. I think he's a very protective brother, but overprotective brother, but I don't think he was sexually attracted to his sister.
I don't. At the beginning of the film, I thought they were husband and wife. And that was his baby. And that she was strong and he was weak. Because these days, of course, men have to be weak or psychopaths and women have to be strong. and he was weak while Travis is strong. But so I thought they were husband and wife because of the way that he was acting. And then when she goes, I'm trying to find my brother, I'm like, brother? They're brother and sister? Because they don't even look alike. Yeah. And then that's when Travis goes, oh yeah, and of course you want to fuck your own sister. And it's like, oh shit, he does, yeah, for the way that he was acting at the beginning of the movie. Yeah, I get it.
He did kind of get a little weird in the beginning, like when he was talking in the car with her and stuff, and just the way, like, I don't know, the way he was acting, sometimes he did seem a little,
yeah.
But I would hope he wouldn't have, tried anything with his sister. I don't know, but I guess, we'll never get a sequel to this movie, so we'll never know what their lives are like after,
You could look how many Children of the Corn movies there are.
But I wouldn't want them to go back into the tall grass. It'd be boring. It'd be the same movie.
You have to do something different, like Under the Rock is a cave, and so they go through the cave. Or what if the army went in there? Like they heard about it and the army went in there. Or somebody could drive a tractor in there or a car, through the grass. Like what would happen if a motorcycle or a car got stuck in there?
The only way I would
maybe the church is a front for something. Maybe it's all,
I did think about
military.
That. Because you were talking earlier too about the religious guy and everything, and religion being evil and everything. And then when the kid finally gets out and whatever, he's in the church, that's where he ends up coming in. So I was like, wait a minute, like, is the church, one
of the portals brought him to the back part of the church. So he went in through like the back entrance and made his way through. It's a good thing he didn't, I know he's kind of weirded out about everything, but I mean, shit, if he was a couple seconds later, the brother would have gone right into the grass.
They were that close. They were going to. They were
right there. That's another time when I was yelling at the screen, going, "Go faster, go faster!" So that's a good thing. That's good. That's getting into the movie. You're yelling at the screen.
I was not yelling, but I was getting a little nervous because it's a Stephen King thing. At any time it could have ended differently. It could have been like he tried, but those guys still went in there. And there's nothing.
That's what I'm curious about. That's why I want to hear this audiobook. So I'm wondering if the ending is different. In Children of the Corn, it's the ending to the sci-fi movie. The couple dies. They get killed by the Children of the Corn and put up they're crucified as scarecrows, and they got the corn cobs in their eyes. So the way that the Sci-Fi Channel movie ends is the way the short story ends.
Right.
They just decided to give the one with Linda Hamilton a happy ending. So,
why?
Because it's Hollywood, just like Cujo. Cujo, the kid dies in the book.
Well, I can
lives in the movie.
Not kids dying is a big deal. I've talked about this, Paul, a lot. It's taboo. Like they don't like having kids die. Now there are a ton of movies, and we got into it, Paul, because I was pretty sure that this was sort of almost like a SAG thing or something, that they don't want kids dying in movies or something and everything. So they kind of, but
no.
But then, people pointed out Jaws, the kid dies. There's a ton of movies where the kids actually die,
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's just recent because of school shootings and kidnapping and kidnappings and stuff like that. So I don't want people to get me wrong when I say that, I love when kids die in films, because they would, it's just a matter of a fact of life. I mean, in the film Possessor, at the end, the kid gets shot to death, and Possessor was only made like 2 years ago.
Wow.
Great film for people who haven't seen it. So that's, to go see that. So it's Brandon.
I've never
Cronenberg.
seen it, so I have
film.
to check it out. Yeah.
Oh my God. It changed the way I look at movies, to be honest. I've seen it like 3 times and I don't look at movies the same way now. Even the way I want to make films, I don't look at it the same way.
Well, it's funny because I've talked to you about this before, but I really can't watch movies unless they are I'm reviewing them right now because I've got so much, like I barely have time to watch stuff I actually just want to just sit down and watch, it's just, I just don't have time for that. But I get it. And I love, I love watching these, this stuff. Like I love being able to watch this and actually review it and stuff. And if I get a chance to watch it, maybe I'll put it on my list of movies to eventually just watch for something else for one of my other podcasts, just so I can fucking watch.
Yeah, I mean, we can review. I would be up for Possessor. I mean, I'm a huge David Cronenberg fan, and there's a lot of little Easter eggs in Possessor, that are from other David Cronenberg films. I don't know if it's intentional or not, but I caught stuff. And it really is one of those movies that when you watch it, you just look at film, I think, in a different way.
Yeah.
You're just like, oh shit, what happened? Now I want to make movies just a little differently. So, and that's a great way of doing it. And
Yep.
Not that In the Tall Grass had that effect on me, but I do think it's an effective Stephen King film. I do agree with you that it is a little long. They probably could have cut it down to 90 minutes, but I don't think I can't picture anything that I would cut.
Yeah, I was like thinking about that too. As I was saying,
so
I like, because I mean, it's funny because while I'm watching it, I'm kind of getting bored after a little bit, right? Like there is a couple slow moments to it, but those were kind of moments where you're supposed to like be on your edge of your seat wondering what's going to happen next,
I think that's why they go to the bowling alley. I think that's why, is that probably while father and son were writing this story, they're like, people are going to get bored with it being in the grass all the time. We gotta, because they show the bowling alley twice, so something's up with the bowling alley at the beginning of the film. And they're like, well, let's get him to the bowling alley so at least they get out of the grass for a little bit. 5 minutes or whatever it was.
What was the reason for the bowling alley?
Just a diversion, I think, from us being bored of us just being in the grass all the time. I don't think, who knows? Maybe at one time there was a town that was going to be built and it just never happened, or just the grass took over and people moved out. But that church looked pretty good.
Maybe it's explained in the book, more,
Yeah, I'll let you know if it is. And because that church was really nice. I mean, it looked like it's in use while the bowling alley was all messed up.
So you're going to listen to the Terminator tell you the story of,
yes,
right
they
there.
went into the tall grass, and then
Actually, I would listen to Arnold Schwarzenegger as the Terminator read me a story. Okay, like that'd be okay.
They go into the grass. The grass was very thick. They needed a chopper.
The grass is not a tumor.
The grass does not have a tumor, but it does have a rock in the middle of it, which could be a tumor to the land around it.
Oh Lord. See, that's funny. Arnold Schwarzenegger should do books on tape as the Terminator.
He should read Conan books. I think, he should definitely do Conan books. And there are Terminator books, so that'd be perfect. And then let him branch out a little bit more.
Then he starts getting out more, and then he starts doing Mark Twain and
Twain, his own cookbooks. He gives us that Austrian food.
Martha, what's her name? Goddamn,
Martha Stewart.
Martha Stewart cookbooks. Yeah, I'd be down with that.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's about that time to sort of wrap it up a little bit. But was there anything we missed? Because I think we talked about the whole thing. We
talked a little bit, about like Patrick Wilson and how his character goes crazy
because he's religious. He's a religious nut, and
which is kind of I wasn't sure if this was a like an ode to, but he is singing Midnight Special, and the song in the end credits is Midnight Special, which is, everybody knows it as CCR, Creedence Clearwater Revival. And I know, and then if you've ever watched Twilight Zone, the movie,
Mhm.
It's Dan Aykroyd and Albert Brooks driving, and they hear on the radio Midnight Special, and they start singing it. And that's when Aykroyd goes, "Do you want to see something really scary?" So I'm wondering if out of all the songs they could have picked, I wonder if that's an ode maybe to Twilight Zone.
Well, I do remember there was a movie called Midnight Special. And I thought maybe it might have starred Patrick Wilson, but no, it starred Michael Shannon, Joel Egerton, Kirsten Dunst, and Adam Driver, which is goddamn, that's a great cast. I remember seeing it. It's a pretty good movie. I don't know if you ever saw that movie, but it's a sci-fi movie. But it's, so it's funny that's what I was thinking when I heard the song when it was him singing Midnight Special. I was like, was Patrick Wilson in the Midnight Special movie? And this was like, that was the reference. But no, it's probably, you're right. It's probably Twilight Zone reference.
Well, yeah, because Dan Aykroyd ends up being a monster that kills Albert Brooks in the car. And that's when the camera goes up to the stars and it says Twilight Zone, the movie. And so I was thinking, okay, so he's singing Midnight Special because he's going to end up killing them, just like Dan Aykroyd did. I could be looking a little too deep in it. I'll even see maybe if that's brought up, because it is CCR in it. It's not like it's like a cover or anything. It's the actual band at the end.
Yeah. Oh, well, good. It's been a while since I haven't heard that song in forever. So that's great. I just really enjoyed this movie. I thought it was a lot of fun. I thought that the chemistry between the whole cast, period, was great. Everybody did a fantastic job playing their parts, sometimes creepy, sometimes not so creepy. Everything just so much fun. And the kid, man. Oh, and we forgot to mention that my favorite scene in the whole movie was when the kid found his dog dead. And so everybody came to him, and that's how they all met up the first time and everything. That group. And I just thought that was just a fucking cool scene. And they did explain the one thing, which was that, anybody who dies, the dead bodies, the ground leaves the dead bodies, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So it explained that so that anytime that they needed to get somewhere, they just one person stayed by the dead body and yells, they'll be able to find them because the thing's never going to move around them.
Well, yeah, because otherwise you keep going through these holes.
Right.
If you stay in one spot, it's a lot. It'd probably be easier to find each other. And especially if you're with something that's, like they said, that's dead.
Yeah. Because it's not going to move around or whatever.
Right.
The holes aren't going to move around it. So it was honestly, it was a pretty cool movie. I liked it. I enjoyed it.
It is a good film, but it's weird. It's one of those movies. And I think that the 10 minutes kind of gets me, is that I think that I would probably be more into watching it a second time if it was a little bit shorter. But if somebody said, "Hey man, let's get something to drink, let's get a pizza, let's watch a Stephen King film," I don't think I would recommend this. I would recommend it for people to watch, but I would say, no, let's watch The Shining, let's watch Cujo, let's watch Dead Zone, let's watch, because to me, this just isn't one of those movies that to have a group of friends watch, because you have to pay attention. It's not that type of movie because it deals with time travel and everything. You have to actually watch it to kind of get what's going on and then think about it.
I agree 100%. So I would not recommend this to a group of people watching it, but it's not, this is not a party movie. This is not a fun hangout movie.
No.
This is I would recommend it to people who have never seen it and want to check out a good Stephen King movie that actually makes you think, I believe this was the perfect first movie for us to do for exploring Stephen King, because we both never seen it.
Sure, I agree.
And it was something that we could explore and talk about. So I'm very happy that you chose this. Thank you.
Oh, well, sure. Well, thank you. And what are our? Do we already have plans for the next episode? What are you planning on picking? Can you say what you're going to pick?
I can. So next month we are going to be doing Maximum Overdrive. Which is
wow. So we go from good to
good to I don't know what the fuck to call it. I mean, it is a crazy ass movie. I love it.
I love it.
And it's a crazy ass movie, but and there's a guy I'm friends with that has the car or whatever, or at least has has the side on the, whatever on the car, or whatnot. So it's really cool. He goes to like conventions and stuff and has it where people can take a picture, next to the, I guess the big.
You mean the truck with the Green Goblin?
Yeah. So he has the Green Goblin, so you can take a picture with.
Okay.
It's pretty neat. He doesn't have the whole truck.
We'll have to talk about all of that stuff. So I mean, yeah, I've read Night Shift, so I've read that story. Which is Trucks. I own Trucks, which was the TV remake. I've got a couple soundtracks. I own the film, so I'm ready for this one. I am 100% ready, but I'll rewatch it anyway because it is Maximum Overdrive and it needs to be watched whenever possible.
So if you guys get a chance to rewatch that movie before you guys listen to our podcast next month, and come tell us what you guys think, and tell us what you guys think of In the Tall Grass. Did you guys enjoy it? Did you guys not enjoy it? Was it too confusing for you, or was it confusing but good? Because you were a little confused. Sometimes it's good to be confused.
Might be a film to watch a second time,
or third, or fourth, but not.
Or fourth, yeah.
It will not be watched tomorrow, or whatever. For me, I'd
watch it again down the road, kind of let it sink in, and then watch it sometime. Yeah, it's just not that type of movie.
Yeah, maybe once a year or something. Just like try it out and see if I get anything extra out of it or something.
Right.
But thank you, John, and thank you everyone for listening.
Sure. Thank you, everybody.
And tune in next month for Maximum Overdrive
on
Exploring Stephen King films. All right, everybody. Bye.
Exploring Stephen King films, featuring John Ward and Jonathan Moody.